Hi and welcome back to the channel for another book review. The book I'm going to talk today about was broadly described to me as a sci-fi novel. I don't know if that really does it justice in truth, but I'm going to talk about Wistful Ascending by J.C.M. Byrne. I hasten to say that it's not a sci-fi book because, frankly, I don't think it's just a sci-fi book at all. Obviously the cover makes it appear, and certainly confirms, that it is a novel set in space, and it's pretty much in a space station called, Wistful. In this world, space stations are living entities with personalities and feelings and decisions and responsibilities, and Wistful is in charge of this area of the world, and on his ship he has this guy, Rohan, who is what's known as a tow carrier. And a tow carrier, you maybe think, oh, what is it? Well, it's pretty much as it sounds. He tows ships in the dock, not a machine, but by hand. Which begs the question, why? Well, it turns out that our friend here, Rohan, is a bit of a superhero. Not in like a Superman sense, or maybe in a Superman sense, given that he comes from another part of the galaxy where the people, or some of the people there, have got what appear to be superpowers in terms of flying, super strength, ability to regenerate, heal, do all of those things. And he has a past that he's looking to escape from, and he takes a job as a tow carrier, sort of hiding in another part of the world, but also, just trying to live a simpler existence. Around Wistful, there are a number of wormholes, things that have lain dormant for many years, but at the start of the book, of course, they don't appear to be dormant anymore, and things start happening around the world, which have knock-on consequences, and Rohan finds himself more involved, less in towing ships in, and more involved in the safety and future of friends, family, and just the station in general, as he takes on a more leading role. While this doesn't maybe appear to be a thrilling ride, what we get on top of this is the smattering of what would be the fantastical, or the sci-fi, or the cultural, or the mystery. And what I mean by that is, there are planets with kaiju. You have somebody with superhero powers, you have talking bears, you have another level of creature and mystery, and lots of these are sprinkled out throughout the book. In fact, I would say even this book by itself only scratches the surface of resolving some of those mysteries that JCM has laid out in the book here. So what type of book and what type of read is it? From page 1 of this, I couldn't help but think of ye old Dresden Files. Not obviously that's an urban fantasy, but the main character of Rohan is very reminiscent of Harry Dresden. Now, thankfully, he's not as much of a creep as Harry, but his quips, the things that he says, it's almost, and I've heard this in a line from other TV series, it's almost as if, Rohan says the things that if you had half an hour to think about a good response for something, is what he would say. Plus you have like a cast of characters that is only developing on the outside, who his friends are, who his compatriots are, who are the people that he cares about, even though, like Dresden, he's a bit of a lone wolf. He kind of wants to be left alone, wants to go have some breakfast, do his job, go home, and forget about the other parts of his life that are deemed important by others. Bit like Dresden. This book's much more upfront about the origin story of Rohan, and in terms of he has done some terrible things in the past. Fully appreciate that in this series going forward, this will be an ongoing thing. I do have to talk about the cover art here is very much in keeping with the book, and actually connecting the character to his appearance here, because actually this yellow jumpsuit is both a character in itself. It becomes to define his idea of hiding in plain sight. How do you hide and disappear in the background when you're wearing a luminous yellow jumpsuit? It's kind of one of the jokes or in-jokes that there is. So while it's very similar in style to Dresden, I am just finishing Dresden, coming up very shortly, only a book or two left, and I am looking for a similar series to that to do. Something that has got light-hearted elements, something that has a rich and ever-expanding world. I fully expect as we get another book in here, it'll just expand around the edges a bit much, but we'll have very strong character work, characters that I'll like to spend time with, people that I'll root for, people that I'll root against, and in this case has some really interesting characters in terms of certainly the ships, the space station, all being sentient beings, and people that come in and out of his life. Like most books, as much as I love character work, it's the thematics that really get to me. And this is where I think Wistful has been undersold, certainly in my eyes. I've seen a couple of reviews about it talking about how fantastic and funny and entertaining it is, and it is all of those things. But I think at the heart of it, there's a lot of rich thematic stuff going on here. This is a space station with a mix of cultures and people from different backgrounds. And it sort of plays in this quite a lot. Like, none of this is too heavy-handed, but it does pose some questions about cultural differences and similarities, and how that changes relationships, how that changes, first contact with people, and the things that people are generally aware of when they come to meet and greet and make their way around the world. It's really subtle, but it is also very prevalent, especially in a modern society where our cultural differences are often exploited and used against one another, and set division between people. And hopefully in the future we'll get around this to the point that it'll be par for the course to explore, well, actually, before we go any further, what does this mean, or how you dress different, all of that kind of stuff. And I do love that exploration of it in there. And one of the other main themes that comes out of here is very much about the idea of, like, your past not determining your future. You're haunted by your past. You've done things in the past that maybe you're not too proud of, that you would rather not talk about it. And rather than that it be a burden to you, to give the idea that you've got to forgive yourself in order for you to make progress and to kind of change your narrative and change the story about yourself. You can be a better person and not always making selfish decisions, even though the selfish decisions would often be in your favour. And I love the exploration of imperfect people and the fact that not everybody expects everybody to be perfect all the time. Our own harshest critics are often ourselves. Things that really drew me into the story, and especially into the writing. There's a humanity to it. There's a very recognisable sense of person put into this. Each of these characters has nuance. They are not just kind of one stroke archetypes. Obviously, a lot of the book is based around Rohan, but even the side characters, they are angry sometimes. You see them as positive influences on our main character and the world. Sometimes they're negative. They're nuanced and have different effects at different times depending on their decisions and how they understand the cultural significance of others and what they are doing behind it. Obviously the humour that comes in here, I've said about the quips, I think it is genuinely very funny. Some of them are rib-ticklingly funny, some of them are just careful and cute observances on interrelationships. And actually, maybe it's because I'm a cynical getting older man, but I definitely get more out of those interactions than maybe I did in the past, and they definitely were kept a levity to what was actually in some cases a very heavy, in some cases a very gory, and in some cases a very threatening and dangerous place. Again, bits that were sort of I wasn't totally aware of, and the fact that there was multiple mysteries kept within this world that are doled out ever so slightly, that are doled out slowly, and that we haven't got all the resolution to. Last of all, the last thing that really resonated with me is JCM has a wonderful YouTube channel where he explores, a lot of the nuts and bolts of literature, and a lot of his personality comes out in those videos. I did a Friday night conversation with JCM, and I got to know a bit of his personality, and there's nothing better than seeing somebody's personality come out in a book in very brief moments when you get to connect with somebody for an hour's time or watch the videos and get a sense of who they are. When you read the book, that you go, yes, I know who that was written by. I can see that person in that book. And conversely, how difficult it would be if I read the book and went, I don't see any of that person's personality in here. And while Rohan may or may not be JCM himself, or facets of him that come out in the book, there is definitely humanity and a lived-in experience of some of the stories that are told in here. Whether they riff on real life events or whether they're only tangentially related, there is a truthfulness in that, and something that really bears out. So at various stages, while I was absolutely floored with parts of it and lifted joyously in other parts, it was the type of book that I ended up taking to work with me. It's the type of book that 15 minutes early for work, I'm going to sit in the car and I'll get a chapter or two read in here. It was a quick read, it wasn't too long, and it was just always entertaining and also interesting. A hearty recommendation from me for Wistful Ascending, a series that I'll be looking forward to continuing in the future, especially if I'm in a period where I'm feeling slumpy. I'm feeling, oh, I need something to grab onto, this is a perfect type of book for you to fit into your reading schedule at any time. Wistful Ascending by J.C.M. Byrne. You should definitely check it out. If you made it this far, or you've read Wistful Ascending, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'll speak to you soon. Take care. All the best.